City Council meeting for February the 15th, 2022 to order. Welcome, everyone. At this time, I ask Elder Casey Bush to open our meeting in prayer.
Let us pray. Again, oh gracious Father God, we thank you again for this day that you allowed us to be here. And God, we know that Solomon could have asked for anything, God, but he asked for wisdom. And we thank you right now, God. We ask you to continue to bless our mayor and our council, God, as they do continue to do the city matter, city business. God, we ask you to continue to give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. These things we do ask in your darling son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Council, are there any revisions to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to adopt? Have a motion from Councilman Green. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Ms. Stewart, Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Before you, council, you have the minutes of the previous meetings of February the 1st, 2022, and also the special meeting of February the 4th, 2022.
Move to approve the minutes with the correction of conflict of interest on the area where it says that Councilman Jones had to recuse himself.
Any other comments? I have a motion to approve the February 1st, 22 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting of February the 4th, 2022? Have a motion from Councilwoman DeChico and a second from Councilman Green. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Mr. Mickens, how was it? Council, before you have a consent agenda for items A through J. It doesn't show it now? Oh, but could you see it on, it's up there? Do I have a motion to approve? Have a motion from Councilman Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. On consent agenda item E, we're approving request for Columbus Light and Water to install lights in 3 locations. Who would we give request to look at other areas that may be a tad bit dark? Because there are a lot more areas that needs lights. So how would that process work? Will we go directly through Columbus Light and Water, or, will we put a request in through your office, or how we need to do that?
I think there's a form that you can fill out and submit it to Angela, and then she can submit it to the Light and Water Department.
Yes, you can submit it directly, I think, like Councilman Jones said, or you can run it through the office if you prefer, whichever. We get them both ways. Some folks send them to the mayor's office and we forward them
Well, I
on.
meant Angela at the mayor's office.
Oh.
I mean other Angela. I meant Angela at the mayor's office.
Did you get that? It was. I was thinking he was saying that there was one for Dr. Verdell that you could send, and I think you can send it directly, can't you?
I think this one came to us from them.
This one came from us for them, yes, for approval from y'all. So if you sent one, we still have to bring it before the council to do it. But I thought she said there was a spot on their website, but I could be wrong. Does that answer your question, Councilman Beard? Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Council will move to approve the docket of claims. We have the docket of claims for February the 15th, 2022 in the amount of $741,606.68. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-1. At this time, do we have any comments from the council? Do we have any questions for our department heads? Oh, I'm sorry, Chief, come on up.
During the month of January, we worked 173 tickets, and there were 10 that were retired to the file. Also, I have, me and my staff been working on some ways to address the crime in the city. And I just for y'all observation, some of the things that we have come up with.
Thank you, Chief.
It's a lot of pictures, there's more pictures than.
Is that all, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joe, before you get started, I've got a couple of announcements. Oh, sure.
When would you like an answer about these? No, so that's just an initiative that I'm gonna try. I've got to juggle some things as far as personnel. So again, it's something that we're looking at doing. I just wanted to give you an idea of where we're headed. It's probably it's something that's internal that we can do. It's not gonna cost us any more money. Can the number of officers?
Can you come to the microphone, Chief? You haven't talked.
I don't think mine on. Can the number of officers be fluctuated or?
Yes, so what we'll do, we'll be adjusting shift. There'll be calls for service, we have to answer them. So we want to have enough people to respond to the calls for service and have this other smaller group dealing with the most serious issues. So we can keep this, we got to take care of the citizens both. So hopefully what should happen is that this should reduce some of the serious crime so our other officers can tend to the other needs of the city for us, the regular calls that we have.
Did you give me one?
Any other questions or comments? One announcement I have is to the citizens, when you're applying for boards, your application may be submitted to the media upon request. This revision has been noted on the applications and on the board webpage, so that you're just aware if you're turning your information in and you don't want your phone number or address or something as a public, then you need to be aware of that, because the media does have the right to ask for the board applications. Also, beginning in March, the Columbus and Fire Rescue personnel will be conducting business fire inspections throughout the city. They will inspect businesses, but it's a good time for everyone to check extension cords, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, and so forth. Also want to give a shout out to all the volunteers that put on the soccer tournament this weekend, the shootout tournament. There was a good turnout all weekend. I went down Saturday and Sunday. That was primarily put on by volunteers of the city. Citizen action like that is what can really make a difference. We had full hotels and a lot of people shopping in Columbus throughout the weekend. So thank you again to those who participated in that. Mr. Dillon?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You do not have any appointments to make tonight. We'll have 3 at our March meetings on March the 1st. We're still taking applications for the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. You have 2 vacancies on that. Now, let me be clear. There are certain qualifications you have to have for that board, so be sure and check on that before you apply. The Convention and Visitors Bureau has 1 vacancy. You'll do that on March the 15th. And then the Municipal School Board has 1 vacancy. You'll also do that on March the 15th. But all applications for all 3 of those boards are still open, but no action is needed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Before we move into the policy agenda, I'd like to clarify duplication. In reference to policy agenda items F and G, we initially thought items such as these had to go under policy agenda, even though they were also included in the docket. After receiving clarification from our city engineer and the city attorney, items such as these have already been approved by the council, so there's no need to list them under policy. Their inclusion is in the docket is sufficient. Now we can move forward with the policy agenda.
Citizen input? Citizen input.
Do we have any citizen?
I'm sorry. I meant to say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, we do. Mr. Brooks. Sorry, Mr. Brooks. We jumped right past you.
Why did David feel?
Oh, our apologies, sir.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Cindy Lawrence has come with me. We want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here, and let me apologize to you all for failing to show up at the last meeting. I just thought it was something you voted on. I could have been here because I watched the entire meeting on Facebook. You know, before I get into the specifics, I want to just take y'all on a little history tour back. Back in the early 80s, I formed a nonprofit organization called the Afro-American Culture Organization. And at that time, I worked with, some of y'all may not remember Trudy Gilday and Pat Coy, but I was involved with them, the Arts Council. And that organization became one of the primary cultural organizations in the community. We were very successful in bringing in some of the major black performing tours from around the entire country. We had a large group that we actually wrote 3 plays and produced them ourselves. So we were real involved in providing culture activities in the community. I made a shift from that and got involved with a lot of young folks. And we formed what was called Youthquake. And it was a really major undertaking. And of course, then in 1996, we decided to sponsor Juneteenth. We turned the youth part over to another group, and of course, it just kind of died. So in 2019, we moved from the Afro-American Culture Organization. We formed Juneteenth-Columbus. And at that time, we thought the only thing that we would probably be involved in would be Juneteenth. But since then, what's become part of our long-range plan is kind of a cultural renaissance in this community. And we are a nonprofit cultural organization. And as all of you all know, everyone's been locked up to a point that they're just looking for stuff to do. And we're very sensitive to this COVID piece. And I may wear a mask the rest of my life, I don't know. But it's just not about Juneteenth anymore. It's about a renaissance of cultural activities to give people something to do. We're here tonight to ask you all for some extension of your donation to in-kind service. I've sent all of you all some information because this year marks the 25th year of the festival. Actually, it should be the 26th. We had to cancel because of COVID in 2020. Well, in the meantime, Juneteenth has been declared a national holiday. I had the honor of consulting and working with a preacher, musician, entrepreneur named Ronald Myers from Tachula, Mississippi, years ago. He was one of the early pioneers of pushing for Juneteenth as a holiday. And of course, we know there was an older black lady who was born in Fort Worth that kind of kept it going on. And so what we decided to do this year in commemoration of the 25th, and it being a holiday, is do some extra events. Now, I have Cindy up here because often people think that I'm the founder of Juneteenth, when actually it was Cindy and her cousin. Some of y'all remember Steve Poston that worked at Cumulus Radio. Andrea Self was involved in the initial group. There was about 4 or 5 of us. And so I don't want to take unnecessary credit, but however, we've been involved in it for 26 years. And taking on these extra events, as you all can imagine, it's going to cost some extra money. Now, we figured to do everything that we want to do, it's probably going to cost about $45,000 to $48,000. We've had some commitments, but we don't have money in hand. It's extremely difficult to plan when you don't have money because it may not come through. So in an effort to kind of help facilitate what we needed, we've asked you all to consider allowing us to use the trotter on 2 different nights. The 10th of June, which we'll have the first and probably the only Juneteenth Freedom Ball. And on the 16th, we will do a Greek show. And what we've tried to do, we've tried to outline some activities that would kind of reach all the age groups and demographics. And we certainly are going to try and promote these activities that the whole community would participate. On the Tuesday night, we're putting together a piece at the Rosenswag Center called The Black Experience. We're going to work with Chuck Yalbert to look at the history of Black Columbus, but also hopefully to bring some of the people to the table that were some of the first in changing the dynamics of the community. That Wednesday, we're going to do a major activity in the park for the kids, inflatables, and of course, coordinating that with Greg. And that Thursday, we debated on how we wanted to do something to reach young folks, and they like Greek shows, Councilman Pierre. You know, that stepping, and so we're going to do that. And then that Friday, we actually start the festival in Scott Park. And that Saturday morning, we're going to come back with a Juneteenth parade, and of course, the festival in the park. And so we are asking, this is the first time we've ever used the trotter, and probably will be the last time. And the only reason we're asking is because of this 25th year. And we're asking because we just don't have the money on hand to do all that we want to do. And we want to do some quality things. And of course, I guess in my asking, I'm seeing it as by virtue of the fact that you all give us money, it's seen as kind of an extension of a donation for in-kind service. So that's the first thing. The other thing is the authority to sell beer in Scott Park, because you all have taken care of the other things that I had on the agenda. So I will stop and answer any questions as it relates to the trotter and then to the beer request if necessary.
Supervisor Brooks, are these free events?
No, and the reason they're not free, Councilman, is because we're factoring in the estimated cost as part of our expense. In other words, what we're seeing is our targeted goal for the ball is at least 200 people at $15 each, and that's a part of our income side. Now, if we get less than 200, you know, it's a deficit. If we get more, we'll have some extra. And of course, the the Greek show is just $5. And of course, one of the things is that we're almost certain we probably won't make any money with the Greek show, because as an incentive, we were trying to get sororities and fraternities, and the first prize in each category will be $500. And so that money will go toward that.
Supervisor Brooks, I have a question. In the past few months, we created a committee about the town, Charter Center. What would be rented, given? Have anyone from the committee spoke with you? Are you aware that we have a committee?
Well, as a matter of fact, when I sent the initial letter, the mayor told me that you all were in the process. As a matter of fact, if you all remember, perhaps a month or so ago, all of you all were emailed a letter under the signature of myself, Supervisor Jeff Smith, and State Representative Kabir Kareem. And at that time, we asked you all, we said that we were understanding that you were working on the policy, and that we asked that you all consider as part of your policy exemptions for those organizations that are directly funded by this body. So, yeah, we were aware, and did not know whether the plan had been consummated or not. So, but I am aware of that.
I got a question. Jeff, legally, because we wanted, and that's what the whole committee was, to try to make sure that we were being legal to everybody. So when the next person come up here, we treat them the same way. So I'll open the floor to Jeff to make sure that we're doing what we need to do legally.
Okay. And I've communicated too with
Right,
Supervisor
right.
Brooks today a couple of times. There's several AG's opinions. I know you already,
Robert,
somebody
yeah.
gave those to you already. The bottom line is, everybody's supposed to be treated fairly and even-handedly. Supervisor Brooks asked me the legal question, well, if the city is a sponsor of the event, would that create some sort of exception? And if y'all find that that is what you want to do, then yes, it could. Because you got a special situation with Juneteenth, Market Street, Southside Townsend Park, and 7th Avenue Heritage Festival. Those are all receiving $15,000 from the CVB restaurant tourism tax as part of the local and private legislation. If you want to say that because of that monetary allocation to those 4 events, that this is a sponsorship, I think you could narrow it down to 4. But if you're not careful in how you narrow it down, we're going to have a lot of people coming and saying, we need you to sponsor, we need you to give us in kind, we need money. And then, it just becomes harder and harder. So I suggest a hard and fast rule. I don't think it means you have to exclude those 4 festivals if the council is inclined toward granting it.
So, and that would be just for the 4 festivals that we give the money to, not to any other, just because we give them money, that don't mean that they can use it anytime they want to. It's just for the festivals that we give money to.
For those particular
Those
events, I
particular
think,
events
yes.
that they can use it for at that time, right?
Right.
Okay.
Now, you can, if you want to just make it free to everybody, you can do that too, but we just can't, we can't afford to do
Right.
that because of the
Right, that's
cost
what
to
we're trying to-
upkeep.
Avoid, yeah,
Right, I understand.
okay.
If I may,
Sure.
and again, let me say this, I certainly don't want to cause any confusion. However, I do feel that these activities are part of the cultural environment of this community, that without them, you don't have anything. They don't come to see the Board of Supervisors, nor the mayor and city council, only on certain days, okay, when they want to raise sand. So these organizations that are really trying to do something, and we promote tourism and change the culture dynamics, is that we're all going to need some help, because you got everybody trying to raise money. And so if there's not an incentive, it makes it hard. So my thought was, and as I shared with the attorney, is that by virtue of legislation that we receive money, i.e. from the council through the CVB, that these centers be considered an extension of the donation. And again, this is just a one-time deal for us, because I don't envision going down this road, you know, who knows, but certainly if we decided to, that we would make preparation. So it's not an ongoing thing. We don't plan to come back annually. And of course, I know to narrow it down just to those organizations that you fund will cause some criticism, but if you did 50 organizations, you would get some criticism. So, you know, as I told the attorney, I'm just here to kind of look out for us.
If I could just make one,
Yeah.
if the council is favorably inclined, rather than to call it an extension of a in-kind contribution, I think it would be safer to say that we're considered a city sponsor, and then we're not having to make it like a contribution so much.
Well, if we be co-sponsors, will we have to receive some of the proceeds that are made?
We had planned to send you all free tickets to the ball, the Greek show, and those activities. We are very sensitive. We'll highlight you.
But if we are considered a co-sponsor, though, we wouldn't take on any liability for it, though. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, you have insurance, but we're not actually engaged in it.
Okay.
I'd say we were a financial backer, not a organizer or a promoter or putting on the event. We've just been.
Let me mention this also, is for all the years, Sim Scott has been a part of the site.
Right.
You know, so is because Mr. Lewis and them have recognized they can't rent the facility out if we're doing a festival there.
Right.
You know, so, Ms. Cindy, you got anything?
All right. I'll make
Just-
a motion that we allow the 4 festivals that we contribute to, as long as we're, you know, sponsors, to be allowed to use the facilities for that event that we are sponsors of. And I also make a motion that we allow them to sell beer at Sim Scott Park for the event.
Okay, we have a
Well, I
motion.
guess that would be 2 different votes, because somebody may want to vote for one of them, may not want to vote for the other one, so.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll go with your first motion, too. We have a motion from Councilman Jones to allow for the city to be co-sponsors of the 4 events that we help finance each year, to be able to use the facilities for free,
If needed,
just for those events.
yes.
Do I have a second?
I have a,
A discussion first? Okay.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So you second, then
now,
discuss.
this would be just one time for this year and not next year? That,
We won't be coming back.
Well, it's still it's a policy that we're gonna go forward with, so,
Well, my question,
whether it's for you or whether it's for any of the
Yeah.
other festivals.
my question is going to be simply, we're doing a week-long service now, so what if all other festivals want to change theirs to week-long? We have to still be under the
city
in the
sponsorship?
charter once, I can see it, but twice. And then we've been having in the meetings, talking about the loss of revenue that the charter has, you know, is having to pay the employees, like police officers, I think police officers with $20 an hour. Cleanup fees, and we don't have people leaving out in time, so, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, if we do this, if we allow this, can we make sure that, I mean, I guess you pretty much know what I was about to say, everything is, you know, lined up and done. Because you got 7th Avenue Festival, they've never used the charter.
We never have either.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, so this year, is this gonna open up, you know, more people, and we don't want to, people that's already booked these events, if we say we're gonna do it for you guys, and then that event is that week, then we have to, cancel someone else's event if they want to do it on the same day? I mean, how would?
Well, I think it would be a first come, first serve
Yeah, if we've already booked somebody, then we've got a contractual obligation to
Right.
let them have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so they would have to change their dates to,
Well, actually, when I talked to Ms. Regina, we wanted that Saturday,
right.
and she said there was an event. So we were aware of that.
But you would want Sim Scott every year, is that correct?
Yes.
And just to be clear, we're distinguishing the difference between those we give money to as a festival? Is that, I mean, because that's why we started this policy, is because we give money to a lot of people. You're saying because this is a festival and not a different entity, that makes the difference?
Well, we only give money to four different ones.
Yeah, we have a state,
Yeah,
local and private bill that was passed that says $60,000 of the restaurant tourism tax goes to these 4 festivals in equal amounts of $15,000 a year. And that's I think the easiest way to segregate this away from every other event because you're invested in it.
It's what's the official term, inter-city or any
in a
inter-community?
local agreement.
Interlocal.
Yeah, interlocal.
Yeah.
We have a local and private bill, and then we have an interlocal cooperation.
So could we clarify it by calling it the interlocal agreement events?
I'll put it in the minutes how we.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Jones. Do I have a second? Have a second from Councilman Beard. Any discussion?
I'll hand deliver yours.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So motion passes 4-2.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll make a motion that we allow them to sell beer.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we gotta do-
in the park.
Okay, we have a motion to, what is it, to serve beer at
Sim
Sim
Scott.
Scott,
Yes.
Sell beer.
sell beer
Yeah.
at Sim Scott for which day?
The 17th and 18th.
The 17th and 18th.
We'll make sure you get a free beer.
Now you might be crossing the line. Better stop with all this free stuff.
I'm here to tell
End
you.
up in trouble.
Have a second from Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you all.
Motion oh, hey.
He
Yeah, I'm
Oppose,
sorry.
oppose.
He already
He
told me
opposed?
to do it.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
5-1. We did have the other one right, 4-2, is that right? Okay. Okay, now we're going to move into the policy agenda. One thing that, let me go back and correct from earlier when I said that F and G on the policy agenda would not have to be voted on. I was incorrect once again on that, and G is not on the docket, and so it must be approved. F has been approved, but G has not. Discuss and approve the derelict property docket for February the 15th, 2022.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm pleased to report you only have one case to hear tonight. That is case number 21-0526, Granger Real Estate Solutions LLC, 802 Hemlock Street, Granger Real Estate Solutions LLC, Granger Real Estate Solutions LLC. If you're here, please come forward or raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, please speak up. Okay, Ms. James, do you have a recommendation for the mayor and council?
Yes, my recommendation is immediate abatement and enter proposed order for re-entry under section 211911 of the Mississippi Code.
This is a burned structure you can see from the photographs, and I was down that road just the other day. It does look pretty bad.
Would anybody like a motion?
Whose area that is? Three?
What's that?
I'll make a motion. So move.
We have a motion from Councilman Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the only one? Discuss and approve advertising city resources in the spring edition of the Commercial Dispatch magazine Progress in the amount of $940. I wanted to bring a copy so make sure everybody's aware of what this is. The Progress Report, it comes out twice a year. That's what our ad has looked like. It's next to Columbus Light and Water. It's my understanding from this that we've been advertising in it, and we got that price because you commit to doing fall and spring. And it's basically it's a report of all the good things going on in the Golden Triangle. And I think it stays out in business for a long time, and people get to see it as part of what's going on in the community. Is why they've asked us to advertise in it. Councilman Green, don't you have to read something for us to be able to pass this?
I move to approve the expenditure of $940 from 001-004-695, advertising city resources, and find that the said amount is in the legitimate expense and will advertise and bring into favorable notice the opportunities, possibility, and resources of the city of Columbus.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman DeChico. Any discussion?
Is that the current issue?
This one is fall 21, yes. And so there's one coming out in the spring.
Now,
Paid for that one?
Yes.
I have a question. You said we advertise spring and fall.
Yes.
Now, is that one fee for spring and fall, or we have to pay again when?
That I'm not sure. I think it's 2
$940
fees.
for each?
Yeah.
For each time?
Yeah, $940 for each time.
Okay.
And you have to agree to both supposedly to get that rate.
With the discount program.
It's a discount rate. Do I have a second? Oh, I had one from DeChico, I'm sorry. Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve offer to purchase a 10-foot strip of land running the length of Stone Hotel property in the amount of $1,000 with city to net $500 after negotiating fees.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Jones and a second by Councilman Beard. Any discussion?
I did just want to bring to everybody's attention, that is behind, and it's for loading and unloading. I had a question from the community, was it the parking spaces? But it's not.
No, it's not, yeah.
It's-
It's that
thank you.
alleyway right behind the building, yes.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve request to use funds from internet sales tax in the amount of $20,000 to replace old city signs that are damaged, faded, and no longer usable.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Jones.
I just wanted to ask, did we take bids on that?
Well, it's not for something that bid it out, it's something that Casey and them would do.
Yes, did we do it internally?
They just buying the sign.
Mr. Bush, do you want to come up just in case they have?
We could have an estimate of how many signs so far?
No, sir. What we're gonna do, Councilman Beard, is, we've been replacing out of our funds for the past, I know, 6 years. But we doesn't have the money allocated in our funds to actually keep this going. So we're gonna go through all the wards, and if you just look around, there's damaged signs in all the wards.
Damaged, faded.
Faded.
Yeah, faded, yeah.
You got some-
So this isn't a budgeted item that you normally put in, and this request hasn't come in, and you said 6 years?
No, sir. We have a budget on the signs and, street signs, but it's been
It's been cut a lot.
cut a lot. So I think I might have maybe 4,000 in there, and we just ordered some, U-posts on, last week. And those are the poles that, the stop signs and all those stuff goes on.
And we get requests quite often from City Hall to replace signs around the community.
But this isn't a every year thing. This is like you said, you got behind, so you haven't asked in quite a few years for the additional money.
Right, in order to have enough money to go ahead and complete this project, we need those funds.
I mean, it could be something that, a portion that we set aside, every year from this fund, because we always have signs that need to be replaced.
We do. If you
So
look closely
that's-
at the signs around town, many of them are, like
Right.
Councilman Jones said, faded or bent or
Or even-
over on the
Over.
ground
Oh,
or
yes.
too small.
Or get
older
ran
than
over by a
George.
car.
Truck, all of that.
Or even just
I just noticed one down at the roundabout on my way over here.
Because some of them you can't see at night, so they have reflectors on the new updated signs now, so it's a whole citywide thing that needs to be done.
Big trucks on Blue Cut Road.
Any more discussion?
I don't think you got a second yet.
Oh, did I not get a second? I'm sorry, that's why I was asking. Second from Councilman Green. The motion was from Councilman Jones.
Should I just make one observation?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford and I talked, I know I've communicated with Mayor Gaskin. I'd like to, if it pleases Mr. Jones, who made the motion, that your motion include that these expenditures are associated with maintenance and repair of a road, because that's the language comes out of the use tax law.
Okay.
And Mr. Stafford says without hesitation, he would say that, so,
Okay, yeah, we'll add that to the motion.
thank you.
Okay, we have that added to the motion. Any more discussion? You okay? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Bush.
Thank you, Mayor.
Discuss approve contract for the provision of supplemental police services between the Columbus Housing Authority and the Columbus Police Department. Chief?
Mayor, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an
Good evening.
annual contract that we have with the Columbus Housing Authority. It has to be renewed every year. We supply them one officer to do supplemental security for the Housing Authority, which is the 5 complexes that they have in the city limits and the one they have in the county. Officer Ron Richardson is an officer that works that detail, and he's doing a very fine job. He do background checks for him. He do follow-ups. He do a lot more than the contract called for at that amount. But additionally, he does help us on patrol when we need him to do other things in the city.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Beard and a second from Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. As I mentioned earlier, we'll move past F and move to G. Discuss approve final pay application to Burns Dirt Construction in the amount of $36,900 for the North 20 Avenue drainage improvements included in the docket. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion from Councilwoman DeChico and a second from Vice Mayor Mickens. Any discussion?
Yes, did I not see this on the docket last city council meeting? Am I dreaming?
We can, yeah. We're going to check it real quick, Councilwoman Stewart.
Could someone check? For some reason, I thought I saw this come up before for this amount.
Well, I know we allowed them to do the work, I remember the amount, but I don't know if it was on the docket, yeah.
Burns Dirt Construction.
Did we get a second?
I'm still looking, I know we talked about it because I asked how much money we had.
Yeah, I think we advertised and okay for them to do it, but I don't know if we ever came on the docket.
I just thought I saw it on the docket before, I guess not.
Councilman Beard didn't see it on the last one. Any more discussion?
He wasn't there, Mayor.
You didn't see it either? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Discuss and approve acceptance of Stokes Road permanent roadway easements. We have Mr. Stafford here, if you have any questions.
Mayor and Council, I will just cover, this is a acceptance of roadway easements for paving on Stokes Road. Good news is all y'all needed to do were to tie down, there's 3 easements should be in your packet from the Howards, the Hendersons, and the Walkers. The county in turn has agreed at no cost to the city to pave this road. And that's really tonight, y'all's part is to accept the easements, which the county would work within.
Have a motion from Councilman Beard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve right-of-way acquisition process for the installation of Blue Cut Road and Lee Drive signal. Mr. Stafford, do you have anything to add to that?
This is just a continuation. Y'all have asked us to start the restart the negotiating process with the Lee family. You should have in your packet the site triangles that will be required to install the signal, which was approved years ago by the council. We have spoken with the Lee family 3 different times now. Mayor was on the last call, and they have agreed to kind of narrow down the ask just to these site triangles at this time. So tonight, I would like y'all's approval to go through the process of preparing the right-of-way deed with council approval on that deed, and then also getting appraisals on the site triangles that we're requesting from the Lees, and then, of course, to continue the negotiations with.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman DeChico and a second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion?
Are we adding another line?
Hey, yeah, don't pay attention to all the lanes in the exhibit. Yeah, no. What we wanted to do, we only want to put the signal in one time. So we're forecasting what could happen at this intersection long-term. And to show the Lee family that the placement, we're not just trying to grab property just for fun. We're getting what's necessary for the long-term expansion of Blue Cut. So that's what you're seeing in the background. Only thing I can guarantee you with time that will probably change. But again, it was more of an exhibit for their purposes to see why we're asking what we're asking for.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Discuss and approve proposed lobbyist contract with WT Consultants in the amount not to okay, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Discuss approved cost of property cleanup on dilapidated properties in the amount of $8,359.
So move.
Have a motion by Councilman Jones and a second by Councilman Beard. Any discussion?
And when it's that
That's
cleanup,
what we're
it's,
charging them, we're not paying out any money. That's what we're charging them for cleaning up, right?
We paid our public works to do a lot of this already, so now we're charging it to the owners that on whose property the work was done.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve proposed lobbyist contract with WT Consultants in the amount not to exceed $60,500. We discussed this at the work session. There was one stipulation that we wanted to add to this, and could you mention that again for us?
Yes, the governing law and venue, they had venue being in Hinds County. I recommend we change that to Lowndes County. I doubt that that would cause the undoing of the contract. That's if we get in a dispute with them. It seems highly unlikely that would happen. But if we end up in court, we'd rather be in court here than in Jackson. And the other deletion, it shows up in red on your screen if you cursor down to it. I deleted where the lobbyist was asking the city to indemnify and hold harmless, and we can't legally do that. so I deleted that.
I have a question about how will the effectiveness and value be measured? Like, how do we know, or how do we measure that? And do we instruct them what to lobby for, the matters that they're going to go to ask for money for us? And who do they, I mean, are we managing them, or who manages that, all of those things?
Well, when a municipality is working with a lobbyist, the council will set the priorities for the lobbyist and the areas that we're looking for state funds to help us with. We would work with them on setting those goals, and then work with them in dealing with our local legislators and then also others throughout the state. So it would be an ongoing process where I'm sure I would be engaged with them quite a bit, but the council could be too. So they would only be lobbying at the state and federal level on things that we would talk to them about. However, they could also come back to us with recommendations about areas where they thought that we had a good fit for different things going on, because obviously these lobbyists work full-time and have good relationships with the leadership in Jackson and with our legislators in DC as well.
And I guess how it would be measured if we got money.
Yes, that would be the measure. Well, and true, and I didn't answer that part of it, but that's right. I mean, you would look at closely as to, how our funds are changing, as far as the level of money that we're getting from those entities would be the.
And we're going year to year. So
Yes.
if we just broke even the first year, we'd say,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, this would be a year-to-year contract.
And the scope of work also discusses that they would argue for or against proposed legislation that might affect us somehow. So
Yes.
we could use them for that too.
Yes.
So moved.
Second,
I have a motion from Councilman Jones and a second from Councilwoman Stewart.
And one other thing I want to note, I think Starkville lobbyists gets paid $60,000 also, so we're not anywhere wrong, in the price that compared to what
Yes,
Starkville.
I would think, yes, for the research I've done, that's very within a reasonable amount. And also, I would note that they have discounted their rate actually for the city.
Right.
Any
they've
other
done
dis-
work for us before, so.
Yes, they have. They know the city quite well. They've got a professional, I'm very enthused about this group. They've got a professional team that seems to very eager to try to help us and understands our area. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve application for ad valorem tax exemption for 304 5th Street South, U-Store inside. Council, do you have anything to add about that?
This is, I guess my name is beside this because it involves a legal question of whether you can grant the exemption. Just so you're clear, I don't represent Mr. Malden, but he did contact me, I think, sometime early in the process, and this is the old Fred store. His application says that he has paid $517,000 in repairs, and he's asking an exemption for 10 years on the value added by that work, which means it would, if you grant it, it would be exempted from the amount of new value on, but the old value would still be assessed to the property.
How much in money does that mean? Is it on here?
I'm only taking a wild guess, but it's probably about $10,000 a year. That's how much he would save. And it's a wild guess because I don't know. I don't know what the current assessment is, and I don't know how much the dollars translate into on $500,000 of real property.
This has come up more and more, and I don't know where the council has stood in the past, because I'm fairly new to this, but it seems like if someone's coming to ask for this particular tax exempt, they need to do this on the front end and not after the fact, so they know and we know as well. Not to say that we shouldn't give him the break he's asking for tonight, but do we not have any kind of policy in place, or is it just anybody can come to us at any time?
We do not have a policy requiring a intent resolution. I know Chris Chain asked for that for the Stone Hotel, and the council granted the intent resolution, so I think when he comes, he ought to be expecting to get what y'all resolved to grant. I was thinking that Mr. Malden did the same thing, but I did not find it in my computer system where he may have sent it when the council considered it. So,
Well, I think one factor that we have to look at also is it creating any other additional tax base for us, or is it creating jobs, or, I think
Yeah.
we need to look at all that as a total.
Yes, each situation is unique.
Right.
But I think what the city has been trying to do is to try to, help people develop those areas in the city, because, we've got a lot of empty buildings downtown. But we also, I agree that it would probably be for them to come forward and beforehand and ask for intent of support in these areas, so that we have a better understanding of, and a kind of an idea of what kind of tax break that will give them.
And if it's creating any profit,
Yes.
I think this storage building, are they full now and they're creating profit, and, we just cutting it so they can have more profit? I don't know any of the details, so.
Well, in the past, everybody that's really asked us for something has came before us with explanations so we can ask them questions. So with that being said, I'm gonna personally make a motion that we table this until he's able to come before us so we can ask him some questions.
Second.
We have a motion to table this discussion and approval, and a second from Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Discuss and approve. Let me see if maybe we should reverse these. I think maybe we should talk to, if y'all are okay with that, switch N and M, so have Mr. Irby come forward first, because his discussion will have, will go into part of the discussion on letter M. Yes, come on up, Mr. Irby. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Good afternoon, and thanks for doing it. I was looking at that, and I said if they approve it, then I may well not even have to get up there. I'm going to be short. I highlighted some things that I gave you before, but one of the main things that I want to mention to you all is that what I gave you 2 weeks ago, it was comments that every state sent to Treasury about things that they wanted to be in this final rule. And they, one of the things that they had comments on was abandoned, dilapidated houses all over the country. So you would feel that there would have to be a need for them to change it and put that in this final rule. And the response from Treasury, and I'll read some of that, said, as noted throughout the final rule, the pandemic underscores the importance of safe, affordable housing and healthy neighborhoods, environmental to public health and economic outcomes. Treasury agreed with comments that high rates of vacant or abandoned properties in a neighborhood may exacerbate public health disparities. For example, through environmental contaminants that contribute to poor health outcome, or by contributing to high rates of crime. That high rates of crime struck me, since that's one of the things we've been constantly talking about. And you have an opportunity to change a lot of things, a lot of dynamics in this community. And what we're looking at, and the reason that I came back this week, was that I've talked to a number of people, business people, garden club ladies. We want to change the way that the community looks, not just on dilapidated houses, but people's yards. And if you all approve this, that would be a group of people that have connections with every facet of the community in terms of cleanliness and the way our community looks. We even talked about churches adopting lots, individual organizations adopting vacant lots to make sure that they are kept up, that there's a green space that's pleasing and calming to the community. So we want the entire community to get involved with this. I wrote some of the things down. I won't even mention that now. But the thing that I do want to mention is that I've heard some comments that, what about 500,000? 500,000 is good. But if you appropriate $1 million, see how this program is working. We'll start with 500,000. And if it's not working, take the other 500,000 and appropriate it someplace else. But I think it's easier to appropriate it now. And from the conversation I've had with other organizations that we talked about may want to contribute to this, they want to see what the city is going to do. And one of the comments that I got said, if the city don't want to do anything for themselves, why would we help? Personally, I believe that we can get a match, not necessarily from the county or Light and Water, but I think from the state, based on some things that I've heard. You have a lobbyist now that can help. There are other avenues. There's some money that we haven't talked about, haven't touched on, and that is, what do you call it, where, and I talked to Roger Wick about it at the airport. I forget the name of it now. But it's monies that congressmen can put in a bill. And I think this is one that would fit. There are other avenues to match. But I'm telling you about, if you can get $1 million.
About pork?
Sir?
Pork?
That's what it used to be called. And you all mentioned in your all comments the other day. And they had stopped it.
Yeah.
And we have gotten a number of contributions through earmarks, what it's called, earmarks.
Earmarks.
And he said they welcome that. We haven't even talked about touching on that. But I think we can be a pilot program. So what I'm asking again, if y'all appropriate $1 million, and we will parlay that into more money, but we'll start with 500,000. And if you say this program is not working, then you take it and you put it someplace else. But I think people that I talk to, they're waiting to see what the city's going to do. And I know what the option one said, 500,000, 500,000 from the county. We don't know that. But if you appropriate $1 million and we can get another match, then that's a plus. That's $2 million. If not, we still got a program that will clean this city up. I don't know if that's good English, clean it up, but.
I would like to say that since the city is in the county, and I think it's a great idea and we should be working together, that I would be willing to make a motion that we match whatever the county donates and we work on this together. If the county gives 500,000, we give 500,000. If the county give $1 million, we give $1 million. And then we can really do some good.
What if they give zero?
That we need to work together.
Right.
Then we'll look at it again. But I mean, I think that this is a way that allows us to work together.
I have a question, Mr. Irby.
Yes, sir.
I'm still kind of confused at how this works. With this money, we buy this property and we tear it down and therefore we own the lot? Is that how this works?
That's how it works. One of the things that I thought about too, how you start. You got 240 properties that I gave you that map. You had one house up there today, and what we've found historically is that a number of these houses that you go and tear down, you won't get that money that you are asking for. The reason why, because the city can't go out and purchase the property. This way, you can make an offer. Say, if you can't clean it up, we'll purchase that property, that lot, not the house, because there's no value in the property. You want the lot. You can purchase it. And the way it's outlined, if you look at that sheet that I gave you last week, it allows you to purchase property, to sell it to a developer, which is the purpose. And I'm saying, once you approve the plan that we'll bring back, not just me, but professional people that's involved with how you can make green spaces for affordable housing. Like you can own the property, the city will own it, and the city can dictate what goes on it. But I'm saying in the meantime, we're looking at having people to buy into this, garden club like people, churches, fraternities, sororities. I mean, it's a win-win. To answer your question, yeah, the city would own it, but the purpose of it not to own it and keep it, but to own it and make it either a green space or an area to sell to a developer to build affordable housing. If that answers it.
Yes, sir, and the idea of cleaning up dilapidated housing is obviously something that I would be in 100%. I'm just trying to grasp in my mind, so we're going to go and buy a dilapidated house for $30,000 and tear it down so that we have a lot that we have to mow.
No, sir. We would have to maintain it, but I'm not saying going to pay $30,000. We're going to look at this whole project, and when I say look at it, come back with a plan of how it will be determined. We would not spend $30,000 on a dilapidated house and tear it down. If the city was to spend $30,000 on a house, we're going to say that that house is worth $50,000 if it is repaired. This money would allow us to go in and repair it and then turn around and sell that house at a profit. Or if not even a profit, but to clean it up.
Okay, I just threw out the 30,000. Let's get off of that figure. We have a dilapidated house that's not worth saving.
Right.
In your mind, do you have an idea what somebody's going to sell their house and their lot, and then we have to clean it up?
I have an idea and the knowledge that we just finished a program of buying dilapidated houses that was designed by this same Treasury Department, that we would pattern after that. The houses that we buy, we get the lots appraised. And when they're appraised, they appraise them on the value of the lot, not the value of the structure on it. So that's what you'll be paying for the lot. And the part about the demolition, that makes it more affordable or acceptable to a developer because they don't have to tear it down. Now, the beauty of it is we can't do that now because we don't have the money. That's why I'm saying you need at least $1 million to make this an effective program where developers come in. I think what we want to achieve, since it is the city and we're not a for-profit organization, is to improve the quality of life and the standard that people have to live. So it's not something that's going to make money, but that's why I'm so adamant about this money, because to us it's free money that you're never going to have to be able to do those things to clean this city up. To clean it.
I have a question. All right, city planning has been in charge of the blight elimination for years. And whatever we're doing was strictly based because we didn't have money, because now we have more blighted property. And is that, we go in and clean up a lot, and what's gonna happen? We'll have another one pop up.
What do you mean by, I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Well, we have more blighted property now than we've had before. Are we addressing what's causing this and just, having the money to tear it down is going to solve the problem?
Well, I think what you said is the reason why we need to do it, because they are constantly adding. We haven't done a study, but we know there's on the blight program that we had, the state had Ole Miss to draw lines around an area that they considered as blight. But it wasn't necessarily blight as we know it. The purpose of that was that in '08, when the economy crashed, when the economy crashed, there were dilapidated houses. There was a lot of foreclosures. And what Treasury, the houses that they had mortgages on, they were next to houses that had been foreclosed on that were becoming abandoned and raggedy, and was devaluing the property of these other houses. So they wanted to remove these houses so that it would not lower the value on their standard houses. Now, that didn't cover areas that we're talking about. It was on the peripheral of those, for lack of a better word, nicer homes that they didn't want the value, so they were tearing those down, and that was called a blight area. So, what I'm trying to paint the picture is that, as you said, we get more, and we don't have any money to, it takes months to get one house torn down, coming through the process that it has now. And I think those houses that you have listed, 240, you're in a position to, people will sell them because they don't want them, they can't fix it. But we can't say we'll buy it. A developer don't want to go and buy it because he got to tear it down, then pay the price of the purchase price. This way, he's buying the land, and we got free money to tear it down. And if I may, I appreciate your saying we need to do it in the 500,000, but I don't think that we need to depend on the county because I think they had a meeting today.
Well, I wouldn't say that we depended on the county, but we give them a chance to, to come in with us on something and see if they really want to work with us. If they don't want to get in on board on this project, then we come back and we look at it again, and then we have to fund it ourselves. But we should give them a chance to at least come in with us.
Well, again, what I heard from some people from the county,
Yeah.
well, let's see what the city gonna do. I mean,
Well,
it's
we-
in the city, so
well,
they
we-
wanna see what
we-
we gonna do.
Well, we telling them what we'll do. We'll match whatever they match. I mean, whatever they put up, we'll match it. If they put up 500,000, we put up 500. If they put up $1 million, then we put up $1 million. That way they don't have to wait on us. They already know what we're gonna do. Now we'll see what they're gonna do.
And let me say, if I can say this and still be friends.
We'll always be friends.
If it's your house and you needed to fix something on it, I mean, that's your house.
Right.
But you said, let me see how much money the neighbor gonna give me to help me fix my house.
No, the neighbor not gonna benefit off my house though, but the county does benefit off whatever goes on in the city.
Yeah, but
tax-wise.
what you're saying is a battle that's been going on forever, that we,
Right.
and probably gonna continue, about the city being in the county and paying county and city taxes. And I think that's gonna go on, and that's something that we can address.
It might.
But what I'm saying too, and this tell me if this worked for you, you appropriate the $1 million, and if we don't get anything else, then you can always take it back. But I'm saying,
Mr. Irving,
yes, sir,
how are we doing this evening?
I'm well, and you?
We hear you, and we know what you're talking about. You're singing to the choir. Okay, we know we got this dilapidated property in the city. We need to clean it up and beautify it. We figure like it can help the crime in the city. They can make it look better. We understand all of that.
Okay.
But what the councilman is saying, he had put off on the table, Mr. Irving. And that's about as far as we're gonna go with it until we hear something else. Now, you can sit here and talk all evening, but the councilman told you what we're gonna do.
I have one question, Mr. Irving.
You want that, you can go with the 5. We can put that up with you, that's no problem. But I don't see us giving you $1 million without anybody else giving anything. That's just me talking.
Thank you, sir.
So the Works Department is the one that's doing this tearing down? Is that where part of this comes from?
That's who's doing it now. The city public works. You get this program, the money will be used to pay for the cleanup, where you can get anybody with a backhoe. They got a license.
So this is not tying the Public Works into doing this. This is part of the process. We have a lot of decisions to make on Arpa, and this would obviously be part of the funds that come. I make a motion that we table this and for further discussion to make sure we're on the same page with ourselves and the county.
I make a substitute motion that we match whatever the county gives, and we go from there. We can give them a chance. If they call the mayor tomorrow and say we're gonna give, you know, well, I guess they'll have to meet first. But I'll make a substitute motion that we match whatever the county gives.
I have a substitute motion from,
Up to $1 million.
May I ask a question, please?
yes.
What if they don't give anything?
Then we'll take another look at it. I mean, it's gonna
All
be
right,
tabled
okay.
tonight in one way or another either way, so,
Okay.
you know, we'll take another look at it, and if we have to do the whole thing, then we do it.
I have a motion from Councilman Jones that we see if the county we will match
We will match
whatever the county gives to this particular program, up to $1 million. Do
All right. Thank you.
I have a second? I have a second from Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Did he vote?
Did you vote, Council?
You vote, how do you vote, Mr. Mickens?
Pardon me?
Yes. We have the
No, I'm not voting. I'm not voting for the motion on the floor.
The motion is on the floor.
Substitute.
all opposed? I vote yes. Motion passes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your passion on this project very much. Okay. Now we will discuss and approve the Arpa plan and assessment project option. Council, you've received options by email from Wagner, and I think they've had discussions with each of you on each proposal. There are 5 in total, I think, or 4? 4? 5. There were 5 because there were 2 new ones. We've been asked to try to come to an agreement on this tonight, if at all possible. They have suggested that we have an answer to them before the 23rd. They are recommending, from their professional perspective, Proposal 1. Would y'all like to, Stephen is here, he can come up if y'all will have any questions.
Seems like what we just passed kind of blowed that out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to table it to see what we do with the county. I mean, what the county does with this other program before we can move forward with this one.
Well, can I say something, Mayor?
Sure.
This is, option 1 gives us an opportunity for the city and the county to work together. You know, right now, we would just like something from the city so we could present to the county. And I think that's what Mr. Irby was saying. People are trying to wait and see what the city wants to do. The people that we spoke to want to come in and help the city. Everyone we spoken to wants to do all they can to help the city, but they're waiting for the city to come up with the plan. That's the feedback we received from the county, from the link, and even from the senators. What Mr. Irby was talking about earmarks. Senator Wickers, you know, is on board to trying to help. And, you know, we put in option 1, trying to get $400,000 from HUD. And so we're going to use our contacts to try to get as much money to help with the dilapidated housing that we can. But like I said, this is an opportunity for the city and the county to work together on common projects.
Well, I think on one section of it, the city, on the comprehensive plan, I think we should work with the Light and Water Department and bring in TVA, and that way the city won't have to spend as much money and allow them to do the comprehensive plans for us. I think that might be an option.
And like I said at the work session, the main thing the deadline we're trying to meet is the legislature's deadline. All the other items, we can put at a later date. We're just trying to get an amount for ARPA that we can say the city is dedicating this amount, the county is dedicating this amount, and then try to match that amount with the state. So if it's $2 million for ARPA funds and the county dedicates $2 million, then we can go to the state for $4 million. Or if you increase that amount, then that's the main thing we're trying to do at this particular point. The other items, like I said in my email, we can have infinite possibilities for those other items. But the main thing we want to do is try to get something from the city on what they would like the county to do. Because the county is just sitting back waiting, from my understanding.
So let me ask, City of Columbus was awarded $5.7 million in the ARPA fund,
Yes, sir.
of which $1.3 million has been set aside. I hope we do something with tonight for premium pay. We'll get to that later. So we're looking at $4.4 million that the city has allotted through ARPA. So why we can't just say, since you're asking about plans, just say, well, the city has $4.4 million that we're going to use as a company to try to leverage and get the most, the maximum amount of money in, and go from there. I mean, the reason why I say that is because you're saying that the city hasn't given you guys a direct number, but we got $4.4 million that we have not basically said we're going to do anything with. And then we're still putting these options together, which I appreciate you coming up with the other two, with no knowledge of what the county is going to give us. So we're basically still, like you say, 8 days away. We still don't know what we're going to ask for. And the county just met today. They're not going to be again until, 2 more weeks, just like us. So we're kind of going to miss that February 23rd, deadline. And it's like no matter, and it's nothing against you or your company or anybody, because I have not talked to you. I've talked to more than you. But it's like every time that we talk to someone, they always give us the answer that the county is going to give us between $2 and $4 million. Well, the county has stated over and over and over that is an insult to them. Do not come and ask them for that amount of money. They have stated multiple times that they might not even help us because of the request, the absurd request. So at this particular moment in time, we've spent $55,000 when we hadn't got really anything from it. We got these lists, this long list, and all of this stuff saying what you can get and how you can get it. But you guys sold us that we can turn $5.7 million into $127 million, and that's kind of, it's starting to seem impossible to me. So, I mean, until we get hardcore facts from what the county is going to give us, we're still just basically in the same spot. I mean, other entities have said, well, we can give them their money and they can double it and match it and do all of that other stuff like that. And we've heard from, more than you guys, but I'm confused right now on the direction that we should or we need to be going, because it's just me talking. I don't think we're getting anything accomplished at this moment. So, I mean, until we get some hardcore facts from what the county is going to give us, all of these other numbers are really just numbers.
Well, we don't know what the county is going to do until we make a formal request. We've not made a formal request at this point. The mayor's not had the authority yet to make the formal request. As you say, the county may not do anything, but we won't know until we see how much they want to. They've intimated that they want to help the city.
But why do we have to approve this before they can make a formal request?
Well, the mayor has to be authorized to go to the county to make a request. No, sir.
No, we didn't pass it.
He's never made a request to the county.
What I think he's trying to explain is that we have to tell them how much we're going to use for that before we ask them.
That's correct. That's correct. So nothing has been submitted to the county. That's what Mr. Irby said. people wanted to help the county, the city, but the city hasn't made any kind of request to the county or to the legislatures.
What do we need to do to get this request sent?
We just have to decide how much we want to dedicate for ARPA.
It's been 2 weeks ago when the first request came before us.
That's right.
Now it's 2 weeks later, and we're
That's
still
right.
sitting here asking about a request.
Well, the request would have to be what we vote on. You'd have to pass, like, you're going to put a certain amount towards, drainage and water,
Right.
because that's where they're saying that we can get the most match in Jackson. That's the area where we know that we can, what they're trying to do is give us an option where they think we can leverage the money the most. What we've got to decide is that what we want to do, or do we want to, go in a different direction? Once we decide, that will determine how much we go and ask the county for.
That's correct.
Are we going to ask them to match 4 million or 2 million or?
And that's what I keep saying. You said there's 1.3 million for premium pay, and that's why I said in our option one, we said $4 million for drainage. So, but if you want to make that number $2 million, $1 million, whatever you want to make that number, that's the number we're going to ask the county for. If you want to make that $1 million for drainage, we're going to ask the county for $1 million, and then we're going to take that 1 + 1 and ask the state for 2. And that's what we've been saying all along. Whatever number you want to ask that's ARPA that we can match, and everyone we've spoken to says they want to match infrastructure projects. So if you say you're going to do $2 million, we're going to ask the county for 2, and then we're going to ask the state for $4 million.
So why can't the county just say, the request say?
We need to have a formal request from the city to go to the county.
And the request
And you've not done that
basically
yet.
states, whatever the county give us will be used towards these different things. We don't have to necessarily say that we're going to
But I
utilize,
wouldn't-
because from what you're saying is we want to use this money to be matched and leveraged as much as possible. So why can't, what if we ask the county, what if we say we're gonna put up our whole entire 4.4 million? And then we go to the county, and we say, well, we got 4.4 million that we gonna put up. Can y'all give us the same 4.4 million? And they say, no, we'll give you 1 million. So that's 5.4 million going in and asking for 5.4 million, making 10.8. So, I mean,
That's correct.
like I said, I get everything that everybody is attempting to say, but there's still no progress being made. I mean, you got people that's constantly coming to us saying that the city is in horrible financial condition. The city is doing this, we're up here spending money without knowing what we're doing. We're up here doing this, we're up here doing that. Seems like the whole world is doing it now, because nobody is giving any hardcore information. This money can actually be canceled out and just thrown into the general fund. We can use it however we want to. We don't even have to do these projects with it, and that will definitely help the city in a financial aspect. So what I'm asking you is from a councilman's perspective, and you guys as company, y'all been here hired on, what, two months now? Going on 3? We've paid y'all $55,000 for a study so far. We've got these long paragraphs. I'm pretty sure a lot of these people up here don't even know how to read them. But we need, like, something soon. We need something, like, real soon. Like, we got the development authority asking for $1 million to redevelop their thing. Well, we know that that's their plan that they've been working on. And we got Mr. Irving asking for $500,000, of which
$1
we
million.
can't, $1 million, you know? I mean, there's certain things, like I explained to you guys, there's $1.3 million that we earmarked for premium pay, which we're probably not gonna use all of it. So we still are going to have extra money out of that if we wanna give, you guys got $500,000 in your proposed plan, and then we say, well, we gonna got the other $500,000. I mean, there's multiple ways around it, but we're paying you guys to do it, and like I said, we're not giving it.
So in other words, we've already got 1.3 million set aside. If we just said, okay, we're gonna give George 1 million, whether it's 1 million or whether it's 500,000, just say 1 million just to be on the safe side, that's 2.3. So if we wanna say, okay, we're willing to spend $3 million in sewage, we can say, okay, we can vote on that tonight. We wanna put $3 million in the sewage. you can go to the county and ask them whatever, and then if they agree, then we come back. And then we can work on what we want to do with it or how we want to spend it. That's the easiest way.
That's what we've been thinking.
That's
Without-
exactly
Without
right.
having all the, the other stuff that, saying we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that,
Right, well,
We just need to come up with a number on what we want to put in drainage and,
right.
right.
And that's why they've been proposing that, because that's where we can get the most leverage from the
Right.
state.
That's correct.
So yes, if you want to put that in a motion, you can, and then they can go forward with it.
Are we tying ourselves into this figure that we're fixing to throw out tonight?
No, I think what we're doing is we're giving them what we want to use it for. That don't necessarily mean that we're gonna use it. They can go to the county can say, no, we're not gonna give you anything. Okay, since the county is not gonna give us anything, then we might want to see what we can get from the county, and then if we don't, from the state, if we don't get anything from the state, then we can change our mind and spend it on something else. It's not locking us in.
So we're not tying ourselves into anything tonight?
No,
This
no, anything that you vote, you can bring it back up to change.
This is just saying we want to use this amount on drainage and sewage and try to correct some of those issues and see if we can get it matched.
So you said
If
3
we-
million,
Yeah,
I make a motion that we, all of that stuff, $3 million, we set aside for stormwater to see about state matching and county.
Stephen, can you come back up, please, sir? And let's make sure where this matches one of any of the proposals y'all gave us, what we're talking about. So,
$3 million, that's a great start. If we can get the county to do 3, and then we'll get $6 million from the state, and then we can start the process of finding other grant opportunities. Brick grant, for example, that's from FEMA. We've got multitude of opportunities, but at least this will get the process started to alleviate, to mitigate some of this flooding in the city. And that's the only thing I've been trying to say, is we need to get the process started to mitigate some of the
So
flooding.
is it sufficient just to say $3 million
Yes, sir.
for drainage,
That's perfect.
stormwater?
Yes, sir.
and if the
And
county
when do you
gives,
need your request?
right.
I'm sorry.
When do you need your signed request?
I mean, you give the mayor, he can make a request. We've already got the letter prepared for him. I just need to change the dollar
Put
amount.
that in the motion too?
Just need to change the dollar amount so he can make a request. We're gonna go meet, when I say we, I mean Wagner. We're gonna go do the legwork and meet, just like we've been meeting with you all, meet with the council, the supervisors, to help sell this process. And then we're gonna also meet with the state legislators to get that process done.
And this is all still under the $55,000 that we're paying. We're not
That's
paying
correct.
additional,
No,
right?
sir. No, sir. Everything that we're doing is all under task order 1. Before we do anything else, we're coming requesting additional work scope. So everything we're doing now is all still part of task order 1. So, yes.
That's nothing,
And that's why I said all the other items, we can discuss at a later date. We've just been trying to meet the February 23rd deadline for the legislatures.
so we got you $3 million.
So,
Do you want to make a motion for that? Put that in a motion?
He made a motion.
I have it down that Councilmember Beard made a motion to approve $3 million for stormwater and authorize the mayor to make the request to the county and the state. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Have a motion from Councilman Beard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion?
Yes, while we're just, since we're in the same thing, can I bring up the premium pay thing now?
Sure.
Or do I have to wait until,
Do you want to add it to this motion, or?
yeah.
Well, I think this is a separate motion. If that's separate from this money that we just allowing them to do, then that would be, yeah.
Okay.
You
I would think-
deducted
Yeah, I would
that
think so.
amount from this 3 million. So
No,
it
that's
would
not
need
coming
to
from
be,
the 3 million.
that's what I'm saying, we deducted from
So
the
that
3
would-
million, so that would be a separate motion and discussion.
So we have a second. Any more discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can the light and water department not do any of this work and match what these funds that we have?
I didn't know that.
They can apply for their own ARPA funds. The state is setting aside, just like they're doing for Rural Water Association, the state is setting aside additional funds for them to apply for.
Do you know whether or not they applied?
I'm not sure if they've applied for it or not, but there is an additional pot of money for them to apply. Same thing, like I said, for rural water associations to apply.
And generally speaking, Light and Water doesn't deal with stormwater. They deal with sanitary sewer and potable water. But then again, we've got a sanitary sewer stormwater conflict where I don't know how you could fix one without fixing the other. In some cases where I know everybody in here knows, you get flood water and some people have it backing up in their tub, raw sewage and such. And that's, that I think is worth having a discussion with Light and Water.
Well, there, in my ward, when it rained, people toilets back up, so, and it's been going on for years. But when I look at what Wagner proposed, we made like $100 million, and we sitting here talking $3 million. It's like, maybe we should use the money to go to lunch. I can't see, if you need $100 million, what good is $3 million going to do? I don't get it. What can we do with $3 million, even if you match it? If you take the 3 and they county match you 3, that's 6 and 12. 12 million is a long way from 100 million.
Well, I think like Councilman Mickens said at the last council meeting, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Yeah, I think what they're suggesting is that we use this money because we have it now and potentially can leverage it, and you address the most serious issues in this area first, and then from that, you begin to try to find other grant dollars and things to continue the program. We've been, it's been my understanding that the city's been trying to find a way to address these issues for a long time, and so this looks like it gives us an opportunity to at least get started on it. And
we can do more damage with 9 million than we can with 3 million, so.
yes. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 4-2. Thank you, council. Councilman Beard?
Well, that wasn't added to the agenda when they
But
actually.
it was under the same thing that we just voted with the Arpa plan and assistance, it may still, right?
Well, it was under a, if you were going to vote on one of those plans, and y'all decided to take it.
We have a special meeting.
Okay. All right, moving on. Discuss and approve mask mandate for city facilities. Councilman Green?
I don't know that we'll ever get back to zero with this COVID thing, but we're the only ones that's still requiring a mask, and I make a motion that the city eliminate the mask mandate until we find it is necessary to bring it back.
Have a motion by Councilman Green and a second by Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 4-2. Discuss, approve whether to open council city meetings back up to the public.
Trying to get back to normal as quick as possible. I request that, I make a motion that we allow the public to attend our meetings starting next meeting.
Have a motion by Councilman Green and a very quick second from Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Thank you, council.
Now, we can still wear masks, anybody that chooses.
Oh, sure.
It'll still be set up this same way.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we'll still be set up the same way, and we encourage people to be safe and wear masks and social distance. Okay, at this time, I would request a motion to enter into closed determination upon the issue of whether or not to declare an executive session. Have a motion by Councilman Beard and a second by Councilman Green. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We are now in closed determination. If we ask everybody to clear the room, please.